Welcome back to the channel, everybody. So if you were to ask me which one of these I prefer purely on how they feel, well, it's gonna be this one. Let me explain why. Just by feeling the material, I can clearly tell that this is mostly plastic and probably lower quality, but the texture isn't the main reason for my choice. It's the weight. This one is much heavier. Instantly, my brain chooses the one with more heft. How about keyboards? Here's one and the other. What you do first is the obligatory flex test. That one doesn't flex as much, great. But then I do the same thing. This is much heavier. This one must be higher quality, and therefore automatically my decision is biased towards it. Now let's ask the same question for these mice. Which one of these do I prefer? Well, for the longest time, I would have said this one. It's got a weighty feel to it, and it even has, well, weights inside of it, same as the other items before. That must be better, right? Our brains are wired to associate heavier objects with higher quality. In the case of the keyboard, one aspect of quality is how rigid it is. Rigid materials, whether they're metal or thicker plastic, usually weigh more. So I can see where this association is coming from. But for a gaming mouse, this does not apply and may in fact be the complete opposite of how we should think. Now, I primarily play first-person shooters, which requires quick flicks and precision under rapid movement. That's where something like this isn't so good. It's got enough weight that I often find myself overshooting a target. Now, I attribute this to sensitivity and I turn it down, which makes the rest of my gameplay worse. That's where this little fella comes in. This is a new mouse from the Doha-based company Epic Gamers. TLDR, this may have just secured a spot next to my keyboard. I'm Jesse, this is Bartman's Bits, and today we're talking switches, sensors, and speed holes. First up, specs. Connection can be by Bluetooth, which you only use in emergencies, 2.4 gigahertz, and wired through USB-C. Tracking is done by a PixArt 3325 sensor. There's a combination of Huano and Kale switches for left and right click, 2 buttons on the side, and scroll wheel click, as well as a DPI button on the top. It weighs 80 grams in total, and it's all run by a 600 milliamp hour battery. There's a claimed 10,000 DPI and 100 IPS tracking with an acceleration limit of 20 Gs. There's also RGB and a whole slew of extra parts included that we'll go over in a bit. So first off, let's go over what's included with this mouse, because honestly, that's the best part, and it's going to take some time to go over. So opening the box, you are greeted with a fully assembled black mouse with a complete white as well as pink shell. Each housing also comes with a closed palm rest if you prefer to not have holes in the back. The swapping of all the parts is pretty straightforward if you have basic tool skills, with magnets holding the back on, a simple popping up to release the top, and then after you remove the tabs on the bottom, you have 4 screws and one little tab here that unlocks the whole top and bottom structure. Those come apart. Once you have those off, then you have 4 screws for the battery tray, and that's pretty much it. Now, once you get inside, take your time on this stuff, as you can pop some wires off, and basically makes this useless if you don't have soldering equipment. I've changed several bodies several times with no issues, so it's pretty sturdy. Now, opening this up, we can see the selection of switches that have been chosen. The side buttons and DPI buttons are Huano black case white tips, which are rated for 5 million clicks and are a little harder at 0.78 newtons for activation. For the main clickers here, you've got Kale 8.0s with the option of swapping them out for some pink tip Huanos. Now, I really couldn't tell a difference between these switches here and the extra ones that are included, but I am not a switch connoisseur. All I know is that for me, you get 2 sets of switches, which means that if any of these break, I can pop another set in. Now, enough for the switches, let's talk about this sensor. Is it the best optical sensor on the market? No. But then again, this is not the most expensive mouse out there. Sensors like the PMW 3370 or 90 will offer higher tracking speed, higher resolution, and better acceleration tolerance, but it costs more. The sensor chosen for this mouse is a good fit for the price, and if you're a casual gamer like me, you won't notice any performance issues. If you are competitive in something like Valorant or CSGO, you might want to spring for a mouse with a higher DPI and polling range. Let me just pop this on real quick. There you go. Bam. Okay, so back to the switches. This is where the mouse really shines. The switches that are most prone to failing are MB1 on the left and MB2 on the right. These are the most heavily used and get extra punishment when the high ping here in Doha causes me to get popped in the head while sniping, even though I shot first, and I take the mouse and I smash the buttons like it might actually do something, but it doesn't. And I wear out the switches much faster than I should. Lucky me, you can just order a new set and plop them right in. No need to even touch a screwdriver. Swapping it is easy with a quick lift of those two top pieces and then pulling them out with the included removal and install tool. This also opens up the possibility of ordering aftermarket switches and throwing them in there. The whole concept for this mouse is customize and upgradability. So, customizability. You can customize the color of the shell, palm rest, clicky bits, and the bottom pads with the included spare parts. This also means that if you do break something on it, you can swap it out. There is RGB along the back side here, which is automatically shut off when not in use. That's a little battery saving trick. And the DPI selection is displayed through various colors through a neat Epic Gamers logo in the palm rest here. There is also a storage for the 2.4 gigahertz dongle. Charging is done through USB-C on the front, and you can charge it while you are using it. So you can use this as a wired mouse as well. You got these super slippery pads on the bottom here, and those can be changed out with different colors that are included in the box. This helps just make everything smooth when you are moving it around. Everything felt very smooth when I was moving it around with those pads on there. The scroll wheel here has very well-defined clicks to it without being too high of a resistance. The switch is quite satisfying for the scroll wheel and for the side buttons here. The DPI can switch between, I don't know how many, I think it's 6 different settings. I found whatever the red one is, nope, the one right after red. That's what felt most natural to me. And I will say that once you go up to the highest setting, it's way too extreme for me. But that may be exactly what you need for whatever gaming you're doing. On the bottom, there is an on-off switch as well as the kind of middle button for there to turn on the RGB. You also have your Bluetooth and your 2.4 gigahertz connection toggle. So you can toggle between those two. One thing that's nice is that once you remove all of these parts here, you can get to the battery and disconnect that. What you can do is if your battery goes bad, you can replace it pretty easily. Just match up the specs, order it up, and then connect it up. And that's one of the great things about this mouse is that a lot of the key components are replaceable. Now, some of the items are included in the box. Even if those go bad over time, you can order replacement parts. So this mouse is going to be with you for a very long time. So what's the verdict on this mouse? It's set at a price that is easily digestible for people getting started in gaming. It offers a wireless connection with great switches and a decent sensor and a pretty long battery life. The fact that you basically get 3 mice in one box, well, that's just the icing on the cake. I am not an expert in gaming peripherals by any stretch, but what I can say is that I found this to be very comfortable, accurate, and staying charged to the point that I forgot it was wireless. During my sessions of CSGO, I was able to click this around a crazy amount without any spin out. I don't think I'm ever gonna exceed that 20 Gs of acceleration. Final verdict, this mouse is a win. It's set at an affordable price and you're basically getting all the parts to customize this through the 3 different colors to whatever you're liking. Plus, you have replacement parts if anything goes bad. Now, if you want to pick this up and you're here in Doha, you can head to Store 974 at one of their 3 locations, which is Gate Mall, Place Vendome, and Mall of Qatar. They also have an app that you can download, or you can head to store974.com. I want to thank you all for watching. Don't forget to subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.